This is Holochain Amateur Hack Club number 5, and I'm going to try and start saying the date. It's Thursday, March 8th. And today we're going to start with helping Mark Zapowski. Is that right?
Good enough, yeah.
Good enough? Okay, Zapowski to install Holochain for development using the documentation, which is located at developer.holochain.org/install Holochain from binary, all lowercase with underscores. And then we're going to, and he's going to share his screen for that. And then after that, we're going to look at cointoss and continue refactoring and understanding the code. And if we get far enough, maybe adding a dice rolling feature to the coin feature. We're starting to plan that out.
Okay, to share screen, I guess that's under meeting, start share?
Yeah, I think so.
And I guess I'll do desktop too.
Great. Yeah, so some parts of this take a while, like compiling, but we can chat or work on something else during those times.
Right. Okay, so first it says download Go. Okay, right.
And you're on Mac. It does work on Mac.
Yeah. Downloads Mac OS Darwin 64 package. So it's downloading. And I guess it'll download to my downloads folder. But so double click that. And actually I'll just move this here so we can watch what's happening. Continue, install. So I haven't used Go, but I assume that I guess I could pick that up as necessary.
To make Holochain apps, you don't need to know Go itself. Go is what's used for Holochain core.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to contribute to the Holochain code base, you would have to learn Go.
Right.
But for apps, it's JavaScript or Lisp.
So when you say Lisp, do you mean Clojure or do you mean?
That's the name of it. I've been trying to remember for a few weeks. It's Clojure, I think. Yeah. Clojure, right, with a J?
With a J, right.
Yeah, Clojure, yeah. Yeah, that's the dialect that they are using. And it's also possible to extend Holochain with other languages pretty easily.
Okay, so install that.
And
actually, we'll just keep that. And okay, so I've downloaded. Check that Go was setting up a work stop. Click the work stop.
And then,
so
there's additional steps on the Holochain documentation page. Oh, you can maybe do these first, yeah. Oh no, actually, these additional steps, I think will make the install work. Oh, so go back to the Holochain, the developer.holochain.org page. I think we should do those. I think we should do those steps first. It's the additional Unix steps. Step 3.
Export your shell profile. Okay, so it's
I'm not a Unix expert, so I don't know exactly how that number 1 translates into command line command.
Tilde dot slash bash underscore profile. Whoops.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you put the dot
right.
in the directory.
Tilde slash number. There we go. And it's been a while since I used. Let's see. Actually, maybe I could just copy paste this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. Yeah, they explain it below. Here I'm already modifying the documentation because I didn't read the rest of the section.
Oh, whoops.
Is there a typo?
Yeah.
Oh, the pound sign.
And I guess I should do a source to kick that in.
I think so. Yeah. Let me. Is that right? Let me add that to the documentation too.
Yeah, unless I open another window, and then it'll kick in. But if I stay in the same window, I do source.
I see. Thank you.
Right directory, so I didn't have to do a tilde dot slash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and now we do this thing, tool suite.
Yes. Yeah. This will download the Holochain core repository and yeah, in the right place and all set up.
Okay, Go is not.
So maybe the Go path didn't work.
I think it's $ go path.
Yeah.
Unit here.
Oh, did you do source again? Since you fixed the typo?
Source. Yeah, well, that's correct.
Is it? It's got a pound sign in it. It should be a $sign.
Okay, so let me.
Yeah, maybe your file changed anything or something.
And oh, okay. Yeah, I think. Right. And X insert $.
Yay.
Escape W Q and kick it in again and do the Go thing. Shit.
Let's see. Yeah, you did source. You fixed the typo, and those
Actually,
paths should be right, I think. That looks
oh,
right. Hmm?
um, I need to make a directory, I think. Maybe, wait a minute, let me see.
Oh, I do have one called Go on my computer in my home directory, and that's where the Holochain repo downloads.
Okay, let's try.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And
What if you just try like Go version? It's probably the same. You probably still won't find it.
oh,
Oh, maybe source wasn't working correctly. Can you do the command in this window?
yes, I'm doing, so let me, I'll just maybe make this bigger and copy this again.
There we go. Okay, so I guess source wasn't working as expected.
Hmm.
Maybe it's different on Mac or something.
I've used it before. I'll have to do some testing afterward, just see, make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what this is downloading, okay, it's going to download
This may
basically
take a while.
core
Yeah.
library. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it has to download, yeah, Holochain, and then there are some dependencies. I think the libp2p library is kind of large, or there's at least one large library in here that takes a while. Um, so while we're doing this, oh, hi, Sam. When did you show up? We've just got tiny pictures on the side here. Okay, well, as you can see, we're helping Mark to install Holochain core, and then we're going to look at the cointoss code. Anyone there? Okay, well, you're welcome to watch. This session is also being recorded. So yeah, so while this is downloading, do you want to switch to my screen share and we'll start looking at some Holochain code?
Okay, so how do I, oh, stop share. There we go. Whoops, I think lost the audio. You're muted.
Oh, I'm muted, sorry. I said Sam is gone. Okay, desktop one. And then I'm going to load
Is that Jupiter?
um, Jupiter. Yeah, it is. The new photos of Jupiter they took. Okay, so do you want to follow along in your Atom or on my screen share?
Well, actually, yeah, let me, whoops, how do I, let me bring up Adam here and I'll create a new window.
Okay, so then I'll share the invite code with you. And, oops. Okay, so now you can watch my screen or you can join on teletype.
Yeah, okay, so I'll watch your screen, yeah.
Okay, so have you looked at any Holochain app code yet?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay, cool. Um, welcome, Stefan or Stephen?
Hi, Stefan.
Stefan? Can you hear us? Well, I'm glad
Oops.
people are showing up. Maybe they're seeing the Facebook link, and that's why we're getting these kind of in and out people
Oh,
more.
I see. This is on Facebook also?
Yeah, this is the first week I put the link on Facebook, and we've never had 2 or even 3 people come in before and then like silently leave. I think they're probably coming from Facebook. There's no manners on Facebook. No, it's fine. Okay, yeah. So let's also run cointoss so you can see what
By the way,
we're.
what is that thing you pasted in the chat, in the Zoom chat?
Oh, that's a code that you can put into Teletype down here in Atom, which is a plugin you have to install, and then you can view my screen from within Atom.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it might be easier to follow on the video though because it also follows my scroll and not
Yeah.
just.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, and I'll take notes while I.
Yeah, and you're welcome to jump in too if you want to use the code.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you can jump around wherever you want yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, how's your download going?
It's done actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, let's just do a tiny bit here since we're right in the middle of this, and then we'll go back. So yeah, what was I? Oh yeah, HC dev web. Oh, but I have to do it from within the cointoss directory. So cd, I put mine in git repos and then cointoss. HG dev or HC dev web 3141 is the port, and this should run cointoss. As soon as it finishes. Here we go. Yay, this is cointoss. And there, see, I'm showing up on my own network. And we can get cointoss working for you too, maybe, and then we might be able to do a coin toss with each other. And I can request a toss with myself, which I think that was not working for some reason. But anyway, this is the interface. And then here is index.html, which I'm sure you're familiar with. This is actually the structure of the page.
Right. Yeah.
And here's like the dialog boxes and stuff. And then here is, and this UI folder here, this is served by Holochain core using its built-in web server so that we have some initial way to build user interfaces. But there'll be more advanced delivery mechanisms for that later. Yeah, so this is a generic send function that links the front end to the back end. Here are specific functions for the different buttons and stuff that use the send function to call Holochain API functions on the back end, which is running locally, right here. And then there's some CSS. And then in the Holochain app itself, which works like an API kind of, or actually exactly, except what it's actually doing, we have, this is there are 2 main files. There's the DNA file, which defines the structure of the application. And I think I need to find out if it's this file or this file and the code file. I think it might actually be this file, and all the files it mentions are all hashed together, and that hash is included in this file. So you can use this file to verify whether you're correctly, whether the code that you're using is also the code that was intended to be used with this DNA file. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're. So that's part of the local blockchain, basically, in effect.
Yeah. The DNA defines this Holochain app. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Except the hash is not in this particular one. I don't know why. Maybe it's not something that gets finalized until production, or maybe it's something that's done automatically. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is the DNA file that defines the structure of the app, and we went over this in detail last week, but I can go over it again if you want. And then this is cointoss, the main code file, and these are all the actual Holochain functions that change the chain or look things up on the chain. For example, this calls a Holochain core function that commits, or no, sorry, commit does, just plain commit is a core Holochain function that will commit something to the chain. And then, for example, get is also a core Holochain function that will get something from the chain. And this is the data type, and then this is probably the lookup or the mask or something. Oh, the toss. Toss, maybe toss is the ID, and this is a type mask. But anyway, these are the Holochain functions, which function as an API for the web front end to make calls to. Cool. Want to go back to working on your install? I'll stop my screen share.
Okay, so can I download this code, I guess?
Yeah. First, I think the next step is to make Holochain.
Oh, actually, let me look at my web page again.
Yeah, so far it's been accurate, thankfully.
Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
oh, yeah, then you do cd and then make.
Okay.
And make also takes a while. Would you mind sharing your screen again so we can see, if you don't mind?
Zoom, meeting, share screen.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I just copied this line here.
Yeah.
And, CD, and then do a make.
Yep. And this also takes a while, so. Oh, do you have Xcode installed? It looks like make on Mac OS relies on something from Xcode.
I thought I did actually. I wonder how to check. Let's see. Actually, let me just do that here. Wait a minute, what is this?
Could you show me the error again? I'll Google the error while you're working on finding Xcode. Unable to locate Xcode build. Thanks.
Unable to locate Xcode build.
Yeah.
That the Xcode folder is set correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And set the path using.
Well, I found some command line magic that someone says fixes it on Stack Overflow. if you want to try that, I'll put it in the chat. This makes sense, that command. It looks like it might redirect us to the right folder.
Okay. Whoops. Whoop, no.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, we got to find the actual location. I'll keep researching.
Go. Yeah, I'm not seeing a developer folder.
Okay, so you might not have Xcode installed.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe, let's see. I guess I'll need to go through that. Maybe we should kind of pause this and...
Yeah, we may have to pause this. Downloading Xcode takes, it can take a few hours, I think.
Yeah. Okay, well, at least we got to this point and I can take care of this. And then actually, what I'll do is I'll go back to that developer page and just see if I can build the application and be able to do a coin toss, essentially.
Cool. Yeah, you'll have to download cointoss as well. There's two ways to do that. You can use, you can just use git to clone the cointoss repository, or there's a command in Holochain that will do it for you and seems to work better.
Yeah.
Let me find that page for you with the command. So you have that.
Yeah, the git stuff I can do once. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's the command you want. It's I'll read it too for people on the recording. It's hcdev space init space dash clone example, clone example with a capital E equals, and then the name of the app. So HoloWorld or cointoss or whichever app. And this will, I think, clone it into the current directory and might do some, it also inits it. So it also creates the, I don't know exactly. I think it copies the DNA file and it might initialize your username and your client seed. Yeah, so you can do that now if you want with cointoss, and then you'll have the code, and we can look at that.
But first, probably I should create a directory for cointoss, right?
No, I think it makes it when you run either the git command or this command.
Now, instead of HoloWorld, I'll want to have to say cointoss, right?
Yeah, it's all lowercase with no space.
So you're saying I shouldn't worry about the directory?
I don't think so. I think it creates it automatically inside your current directory.
Oh, and I'm in Holochain Proto, really?
Yeah, they changed the name like a week ago.
Wait a minute. I see.
For prototype, that's the only and the current version.
Yeah, I seem to be within a Go directory, which it created for me.
You may want to download your apps in a totally different directory from Go. I have a folder called Git repos.
Yeah, I've got a, yeah, I think I'll do that. Oops. cd. And so I'll do hcdev init dash clone example equals cointoss all lowercase.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure if you used just git clone to get the repo, then you would have to run hcdev init cointoss, or maybe just hcdev init in the cointoss directory. But this does both.
Okay, I see, it's developer command line tool / hcdev.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't have that.
Oh, you didn't do make yet. This doesn't exist. hcdev. So you'll just have to use git clone. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, so what I'll do is first I'll create a. Let's see.
Here's the link to the cointoss Git repo. Right here. github.com/holochain/cointoss.
Okay, so I've created a cointoss repo, and actually no, I'll go to that. Copy the. Git command. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I see. I do git clone and then that HTTPS.
Yes, and then you have to add the link, which might not be the link that I just posted, but might be the link that. Oh yeah, if you add an S and then you add .git to the end, then it's the link to actually get to clone the repository. That's the link you get from the GitHub page. Hi.
Okay, yeah, so I did that. Okay, so what I'll have to do is I have to take care of the Xcode issue, and then do the make, and then proceed.
Yeah, that should go off without a hitch. We do have an hour and a half if you want to start the Xcode download now. Maybe we can come back to it near the end of the call if it finishes.
Okay, yeah. So you'll continue on with whatever.
Well, whatever you want. What do you want to look at? We could look at the cointoss code and kind of look at how Holochain code works, or we could look at another app or something else.
Yeah, I'd like to just get the basic pattern of how to create an app, and we could use that example or whatever else that makes sense.
Cool. Let's look at two together, because we've looked at these separately, but I haven't yet looked at two different apps together in one call. So we can compare them a little bit. So, okay, so let me share my Atom screen. Oh, not that actually. Hang on. I'm gonna open HoloWorld first. Open folder. Okay. Okay. think this is right. Cool. So this is HoloWorld, and I'm opening it in Atom. If anyone wants to follow along in Atom itself, I can post the screen share link. Okay, so first, let's look at the UI. What was this app? Oh yeah. We looked at this previously, so I won't pull up the app right now. Or maybe I will. It's really quick. So let me share my full screen actually. Okay, so I think if we do repos and then hello world, we should be able to do HC dev web 3141 or any port number. Oh, did I keep my other one running? I did. Okay, cool. So now if we reload this page, it should be, this is hello world. So you enter the text of a new entry to save on Holochain. So I can say like amateur at club number 5, and then I can submit it. It returns the hash, which is content addressed. So it takes the entire Holochain entry that I just added, I think, and then it hashes that, and that's this address, this hash code that I got. And if I click read, it'll read, uh-oh, it's not working. It should read out of the chain. So we have a bug here. It's possibly something that broke due to changes in Holochain core that haven't been updated in the app yet. But anyway, what should happen here, and what did happen last time I tested this, was the same text that appears right here. And if you're somewhere else on the network, you can also, I can send this code over to someone else, and they are able to read the same data out of Holochain as soon as it's propagated through the Gossip protocol. So anyway, this is the interface, and this is the code. This is index. And Mark, you're familiar with programming, so this will probably make sense pretty quickly to you. Is it Stephen, Stefan, Stefan?
It's Stefan.
Stefan, nice to meet you. What's your programming background? Yeah, welcome.
My programming background is absolutely zero. I'm totally a beginner, so okay. I'm looking forward to learning. Okay. By watching right now, yeah.
Yeah, no problem. And I can go a little bit slower. Do you know HTML?
A little bit. Okay. I use it for my blog. Sometimes I'll go into that language to write some stuff up, but not in any detail for sure. Okay. So you've never done any JavaScript where you're adding behavior to your web pages? No. Okay, no problem. Cool. So you've got your HTML tag, which lumps the whole thing. The head tag, which is the header. This this line includes a separate JavaScript file, which is in the same directory, and it's right here. Let's come back to that in just 1 second. And then here's the body, which is everything that's not the head. HTML always has just head and body as the two that are underneath HTML. And then here's this form right here is all of this down to the first submit button right here. So all of this right here is within this form right here. Okay. This form here is from here to the read button. As you can see, the read button, the last thing here. And then this script is invisible on the web page, but it's included like inline JavaScript. And we can figure out what it does. So this will get the element with the ID. You know how IDs are done as an attribute like that? This will get the ID submit entry, and then it will add a listener for clicking. So whenever the submit entry object is clicked, then it will call this function, and the function is also included in line right here. Inside this function, it will prevent the default event, so it will disable whatever a click normally does on the button, which for a submit button is, it does like see the type is submit, and a submit button has a default action of like going to a certain web page and doing a thing. So it disables that, so we don't leave this web page. And then it calls this function, which is almost definitely located in this file that we included, called HoloWorld entry create. And if we go here, it's right here, HoloWorld entry create. And it sends that function these pieces of information separated by commas. So it sends it this value. It sends it the value of the HoloWorld entry box, which is this text box where we type something.
Right.
And then it sends, so it sends it the text, and then it sends it this function, which is a callback function that'll be called when the function completes. And that puts the hash in, so it'll send us back the hash, and then this return function will put the hash in the hash box right here.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
And
does that all make sense?
I'm just wondering on a high level in terms of, so this is the hello world. So basically your input form saying, give me some string basically, and then you're going to echo that string back. You're going to say hello that string or something like that. And so can you go over what is happening when you're hashing that and why you're doing that, and how, and you were saying you could have a couple of apps communicating to each other?
Yeah.
So
yeah, if someone else wanted to load this HoloWorld now, they would be able to read the data that I'm putting into Holochain over here. It would synchronize, and you could read it.
So you're basically, in some sense, broadcasting that out.
Yeah. It's put onto my local chain, which is stored on my hard drive and is being executed through Holochain locally, and then that synchronizes through the network using the Gossip protocol, which is a little bit like BitTorrent.
And the Gossip basically saying who else is on and or who's listening, essentially.
Yeah. Hi, Sally. The Gossip is made up of a distributed hash table, and so entries which are put into my local neighborhood will propagate out to other neighborhoods so that they become available. And I think, yes, I think people also announce like that they exist, and so those entries I think might also be a thing.
And so the Hello app is Hello World app is basically listening for anything, and then it'll display that.
It'll display whatever hash you put into this box. So if it's a very simple app. So if someone has put an entry onto their HoloWorld app somewhere else in the world, and that has propagated to my neighborhood, which might take anywhere between a split second to a few seconds to, in rare cases, like a minute, if it's something's kind of going wrong. And then if they send us the hash, separately, like through a messenger or something, which is what we did last time we tried this, and they type the hash in here, it'll load that same information. Yeah. So I can load entries other people have put in as well. This app already does networking.
So when you click read, it'll pick up either what you've put in or what someone else has put in.
Exactly. Yeah, except that it seems to be broken right now, possibly due to upgrades in Holochain core.
Right.
Yeah. And we might be able to debug that, actually. Let's take a look. Here we go. 500.
Failed to load resource.
Yeah. What does that mean? What resource? Oh, it failed to load HoloWorld entry read. I wonder if it's because I had that other one still loaded when I launched this one. But write worked. Write worked, I think, because we got a hash back. So why would write work and read would not work? HoloWorld read line 32 in line 26 on holoworld.js. So we can actually maybe debug this right now. So it says that in the file named index on line 32, there's a problem. So that's when I click the read button, and it calls this, it calls this function HoloWorld entry read and sends it the hash, and it sends it this callback function, which will put the content in the right place when it comes back. So let's look at HoloWorld entry read, which is right here. And this says it's having an error on line 26. right here, I think. So why is this failing?
And that looks like an AJAX call to send the data. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Does it have any more error information? Not really. I don't know. Do you guys see a bug? And I thought it worked before. Maybe it didn't. I think it did though. I'm not seeing any typos or missed parentheses or anything like that. It could be that the data. Oh wait. Okay. So if this line's what's failing, the send is probably failing. So it might be that it's not being received. If it's a post error, then the post is failing. So that means something on the Holochain backend is failing. So now we can trace this to the backend. So far, Stefan, right? Stefan. It's been we've been looking at the web page front end, which is served by Holochain Core, which is running on my local computer. And the Holochain Core includes an internal web server that serves this web interface. But Holochain Core also runs the Holochain app itself, which is made up of Holochain app functions. And those are defined, the structure of the Holochain app is defined in this DNA file.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the functions themselves are defined in this JavaScript file, which is, it's not, we've been calling it like sidechain or something, maybe not sidechain, but like instead of like server or client, it's sideways. But anyway, so we have HoloWorld entry create, and it commits a new entry, and then we have read, and this gets the hash in the form of JSON, it parses it, and then it gets it. So this is a pretty straightforward function as well. So I wonder whether maybe Holochain Core has changed, and that's why this broke. So I might need to talk with the core developers about why this is broken.
Right.
Because this function is pretty simple, and I don't know why it would have broken. Yeah, and we've got some validation functions. Some of the key application logic in any Holochain app is in the validate function, because this is what determines whether your data is valid or not, according to the type that it is. Yeah. So if you don't have these, and right now a lot of times we're just writing like return true, so everything validates, which is a huge security hole, and you would never publish an app without validation functions for every one of your types. Otherwise, anyone can inject huge amounts of storage or whatever they want into your DHT.
But because it's so early days, there's no worry about that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we'll be effectively rebooting the whole network during testing. So yeah, so it's not really a problem right now. Yeah, so there's validate commit, validate put. I don't actually know the difference between a put and a commit, but that's something someone who knew more about Git would know. Validate modify, validate delete, validate put package, mod package, delete package. And Genesis is called when init is called from the command line. So this is usually never called from within a Holochain function itself, or from within a Holochain app itself. It's called by when you first install and boot up a Holochain app. So see, this Holochain app, the core application logic is these two functions, and this function, which is just filled in with return true. So it always validates. So this is a really simple app, and all it does is put entries on the chain or read entries from the chain. And we've seen pretty much all of the apps now. This defines the structure of an entry, and it's used for the automatic validation before the programmatic validation. So there is a little bit of validation built in. And then this, as I said, is the DNA file, which defines the structure of the app.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, yeah. Please direct this however you want.
I'm curious how, like I've been, for the past few years or so, been learning a little bit about the blockchain component of this sort of thing. And I know that Holochain is different from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like in the history around Bitcoin, for instance, Satoshi Nakamoto had to, basically do a number of entries within the block in the beginning to kind of secure it against attacks from I guess, malicious nodes in the network, right? And because we're not looking at consensus within Holochain so much as this we're looking past consensus, so to speak, to try and identify a way just to create distributed applications that have kind of built-in security with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, there isn't a worry, I guess, in terms of creating that initial block of uncorrupted transaction records. Is that correct? And is that kind of why you guys are able to have the return function be true?
You should never have just return true in your validation function.
Okay.
Never. And unless maybe you purely don't care about, if you only have simple data like integers, I wouldn't even trust it with strings. Then maybe you can do it without. And I'm also no expert on this, but anyway, you should never just do that. But what you are talking about, I don't know the technical reason for why Nakamoto needed to seed the Bitcoin ledger with a lot of starting transactions. I don't know the exact technical reason, but it sounds like you might be right, and he or they or whatever did that to create enough initial encryption burden or capital that it wouldn't be hackable. I mean, to my ear, that sounds like it might not have been strictly necessary.
For Holochain.
But for in general, any cryptography is pretty good, and is really hard to crack. So even one entry, in my understanding, even one or two or three entries would be enough to secure the whole network. But maybe there's some other technical reason I don't know about, because I don't know. I've never heard of what you're talking about before. So, and I haven't read close to that either. So in general, any cryptography is good enough, and so no, we don't need to worry about that with Holochain.
Okay.
And I guess with Holochain, I think with blockchain, there's a single global chain, a single virtual chain, even though there are lots of physical servers that are distributed and supporting that. But I guess with Holochain, each device or each agent has its own chain. So, and I suppose you could push anything, whatever you want, onto your own chain if you could write the code for that. But if you're communicating with someone else, then that's what the distributed hash table is for. And the agreement is made on the DHT. So, so it's a kind of different model than the blockchain. You need global consensus. You need consensus between you and me if we make some kind of
right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I guess if there's a HoloWorld app, I'm pushing a text onto my chain, and then I guess the app is kind of listening for gossip and then saying you pushed something in your Holo app on your chain, and then you're sending that out. And then when I click read, I guess it'll just find that and read that. Is there any consensus there though, or it's just?
There can be collisions. If two people add an entry that I think, I don't know exactly how it would be a collision, but it is possible. If, for example, if two people choose the same username at the same time, you could have a content collision on the username. I think it's unlikely that you'd have a user, an agent, and their chain entry colliding. So yeah, there's actually like not really any consensus in the network except the same entries being copied to multiple tiers. and the set of those is variable.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. What do you guys want to look at next, or talk about next, or do next?
Well, it's a really good question. I mean, just being totally, completely new to this, but wanting to kind of get some working knowledge of things. Yeah, what would we look at here within Atom that you think would be a good starting place for me to kind of look at as well, and then kind of think through. I know that you guys use Go. Is that right? And then but what other kind of languages would I need to maybe think about?
Yeah, you actually don't need to use Go if you're only making Holochain apps. Go is used in the programming of Holochain core, the platform itself. JavaScript or Clojure, which is a Lisp dialect, are the two languages currently used to make Holochain apps. So JavaScript, basically. Yeah. What was I going to say? Go ahead. Oh yeah, I was going to think about maybe not looking at cointoss, because we've looked at that for the last 2 weeks, and instead maybe we could look at Clutter, because it's also a simple, good app to look at.
Okay, so Clutter is a Twitter clone, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know if I still have the most recent version. I probably do not. Let me see about that. I do have Clutter.
There it is, yeah.
I'm just going to delete it and try and get the most recent version though. What was it? Uh-oh. How many of these do I have to do? No. Can I do non-verbose, or just yes to everything? Sure.
Recursive? You did -R, actually.
Yeah, I think I need to do F. There we go. F for force, and then it says yes on everything. So it should be gone. And now I can do that hcdev init clone example equals Clutter. Let's try that. I think it worked. Cool. And now in here, I should just be able to type hcdev web and then a port number. And copies my chain. I don't exactly know where it's copying the chain from. And then it's serving. This hash number right here is the hash of my exact app version. So if anyone is on a different version of the same app, if there's anything different about the code at all, they'll have a different hash here, and they'll effectively be on a different private network with the people running their version of the app. So we have to build additional bridging tools to combat that and make it easy to move across different apps.
So you could have multiple different Twitters that are not talking to each other, basically.
Yeah, it's very inconvenient, but it's a good way to start, because it maintains imminence to the actual data itself, and then we can build bridges on top of that. Where was I? Here. Oh, and this is the same port. I can just refresh. Uh-oh. Okay. Clutter might be broken right now. Let's see. Let me see what branch I'm on. Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get Clutter to work right now. I'll try one more time, though. Git clone ps github.com/holochain/clutter.git. Okay, so I cloned Clutter using Git, so now it's a Git repo, So now I can do get branch and see what branch I'm on. There's only one branch. So if we now do hcdev init clutter, I guess, and then hcdev web 3141. This, I think I just repeated what I just did, but in a different way, in the other way. There are two ways you can do this. And now it's serving again, and it's probably going to give me the same error. Yeah, okay, that's unfortunate. It looks like clutter is broken right now, but we can still look at the code. So I think they're redoing the interface. And this will be a nice step up in complexity from the app we just looked at. Okay, so here's the UI, which looks complex and no longer, okay, yeah, they're redoing it in React. I don't really know React, so this might be hard to read for me as well. Here's, oh, okay. Here's the old interface that I made. I think I can actually show you what this looks like. Can I copy the path? Yes. No. Okay. Well, anyway, this is the old interface I made, and it's just like a simple feed in the middle with tweets inside, and it's very simple. But let's look at the back end, because that's the part that will stay the same. Yeah, it looks like this repo needs to be cleaned up a little bit. It's got 2 DNA folders, and I don't know why one is green. Anyway, here's the Clutter DNA file that defines the structure of the app. So let's go through this kind of line by line briefly. And I said this earlier, but this was 2 more people have shown up. So this file, I believe, is supposed to contain a hash of the current version of this file and all of the files it references. I think that's the way they do it. And so that means that if you change any of the code, the hash will change. And since this hash is included in this file, I think, then it, I don't know if that's quite right, but it's close to the truth. And so if you change the code at all, then one of the files that's included in that bundle will know that it has been changed. So you can verify that the code is identical to the code that this file claims is supposed to be running. But yeah, I need to find out the final details on that so I can give an authoritative answer on that. But anyway, got version 0. UUIDs are universal something identifiers, universal unique identifiers, and they're usually random numbers. But this one's zeroed out, which is bad. And there's a name, requires Holochain version 18. Here's some properties, the description, the language. Enable directory access is probably maybe for the App Store in the future. Properties, here's the properties file. And these are, this is a structure describing the, oh, it's describing the structure of properties, I think. Yeah. Yeah, here's the properties, and they follow this format here. This is based on, I think this is also for when you're branching an app and basing it on a previous app. I think that's what this is for. And here's the meat of the file, the zones, and all the way down to here. And by the way, Stefan, if you don't know what type of file this is a .json file, and this is a JavaScript structured. Okay, object notation, thank you. JavaScript object notation or JavaScript structured object notation?
It's probably whatever.
I don't know. I think it's,
yeah.
I think you're probably right, yeah. Thank you. So,
yeah, thanks,
and all
guys.
yeah, no problem. And you can see the structure of this file format. It's really simple. It's just curly brackets and commas and stuff inside. And then this key value, this is called the key value pair, because it's got the key and then the value. So, and there are a few different types. So zones here, this square bracket indicates, I think it indicates a list.
Can you say what a zone is, by the way?
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, I was just about to. It's the okay. So the zone is the part. It's short for chromosome, and it links the. Each zone is essentially a separate Holochain app. So the DNA file has multiple zones. Each of those defines basically an API or an interface by which specific Holochain functions can be called, and those functions are defined in the whatever file is listed right here, actually. Or no, sorry, that's the schema file. Oh, this is a sample zone. It doesn't have any content. Okay, so this one. Oh wait, no, it doesn't. Does it? I don't see. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Code file is samplezone.js. So if we look in sample zone, we'll find our JavaScript, which actually defines the functions that do the Holochain app on the back end. And we'll look at this in a couple minutes. But yeah, it's a very simple app.
Hey, just to let you know I'm here.
Oh, hey, welcome. Yeah, we're just going through Clutter, the code, and actually maybe you can help us with this because Clutter seems to be broken. I'm running it, and this is what we get. Is it because they're upgrading the UI right now? In some invalid state?
Why does it say cointoss? Are you talking about cointoss?
Clutter.
It's because the page hasn't loaded yet, and we were using cointoss in this same before. See? So yeah, I've got it loaded right here. See? I mean, do you have any news on that? Do you know if Clutter is in an invalid state or something?
No, maybe there's one step that you need to run, which you maybe aren't doing.
Yeah.
Let me just double check what the command is. Have to see.
Thank you. So yeah, while you're doing that, I'll go back to looking at this DNA file. Yeah, so each zone defines an API interface which kind of is a Holochain app. You've got a name, you've got a description, you got the file where the actual functions are stored, and then you have entries is also really important because remember everything in Holochain is a Holochain entry, and each entry must have an entry type. And entries are automatically validated according to their entry schema, their entry type. Or sorry, yeah, their entry type, which comes with a schema. And then they're also validated after that according to the validation functions, which should never just return true. So if we look in this schema file, sample entry, this will define what a valid entry is for the application Clutter. So it's got title for the schema, a type for the schema, and then the properties are a type set to string and a type set to integer. It's called timestamp.
So basically you have the text of the tweet and the timestamp.
Yeah, exactly. The content and the timestamp. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think these top two and bottom one properties are about the entry, about this itself, not about what the entry is supposed to be like. Yeah, and then required, it says both of them are required, both the body and the timestamp. There's a mistake, I think, right here. See, because this says body and this says content. So I think this should actually say content as well. But I'm gonna leave that the way it is because it's not even working at all.
Right. Yeah.
I found something for you, Anders.
Oh yeah.
So where's your terminal, right?
It's right here.
So if you stop that process for a minute with Control C,
Mm-hmm.
Do you have JS installed?
Could you say that again? You're breaking up.
Do you have Node.js installed?
I don't think I do.
Okay, so in order to run the latest Clutter branch the way that you're doing it through a git clone, you need to install Node.
Okay.
Node.js, and then run two commands which kind of set it up for which build the UI files.
Okay.
Oh, and I see, because you're redoing it in React. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys want to do that on this call, and we can get Clutter working?
I actually have
or
to
do you want to look at code more? Yeah, you can. People can come and go whenever you want. So, yeah, if you need to go, Mark, that's fine.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for coming. I hope to see you
Thanks,
at
Mark.
another one in the future.
Bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye. Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you want to see me install Node.js or work on something else? Do you know how long it will take, Connor?
It should be fairly quick.
Okay.
I haven't done it lately on Linux, but I think it's very simple. Is it Ubuntu?
That's what I'm on, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to update. I think it might take forever.
I'm fine with whatever's easiest. I have to leave the call by half past my time.
Okay. Well, that was fast. So it's just 2 more commands now, Connor? Where is this documented? Where did you find this?
Yeah, I can show you. I can show you in a minute. It's because there's multiple ways that we expect people to install it. It can be a bit difficult to document it in a way where it's like, okay, if you do it this way, do this, and if you do it that way, do that. And so we just have to clarify the different sort of pathways. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we should just
for Clutter,
sorry, go ahead.
Yes. If you use Docker and whatever, Docker handles a lot of it for you. So,
Okay.
or if you install from the binary, it's already done. So it's only if you git clone the repository that you need to do this step.
I see. Can you send me the commands or tell me where they're online?
Yeah, sure. So the commands are well, actually, in the Docker usage section of the README for Clutter.
Oh, okay. Docker README.
So on the repository, the Clutter repository in the README.
Here it is. This is where the steps are. Okay. React app, and then run these. Is it? No, this is for Docker.
Yeah. So CD into the UI source right here. It's the same as this actually.
Same as what?
But only the first 3. Just the first 3 commands you need.
Okay.
CD UI source yarn npm install, and then npm run build. So it depends if you're using NPM or Yarn, but we can just use NPM.
It's working. Okay.
I'm like lagging behind what your screen's doing, but it's okay.
Okay. It's doing the install. And Connor, can you clarify what is hashed exactly with the DNA file and where that hash is stored for verification?
Say that again, Andrews.
For you know how the DNA file is hashed, right? Or is the source code that's hashed?
Yeah, the whole thing. There's a hash that's created that by the DNA. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a hash created using the DNA of all the source code.
Yep, using the DNA file and the schema files and the source code. Yeah, it looks at all of that and makes a hash. Makes a hash from the thing which consists of all of that.
Okay, so the DNA, the schema files, and the source code. So basically the DNA plus everything that's linked within it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, and that produces a hash, and then where is that hash stored or shared?
Will you try turning your video off? I think my internet's not great, but
Sure, yeah, I'll stop my video. Yeah.
Thanks.
Is that better? I can stop my screen share too. It's just installing.
No, I think the screen share is okay, and I hear you a bit better now. So cool. The last thing that you said about the DNA was what?
So we get this hash of the DNA and all of the things it links to. Where is that hash stored, and who is it shared with? Or when is it shared? Or how is it shared? Is that hash stored in the DNA file
I don't
itself?
think that it's actually necessary. Yeah. I don't recall whether it's actually written into the DHT or whether it just exists sort of in the memory of the computer based on when you start running the application. It's like it creates the hash and then it knows which hash you're running, and maybe it doesn't write it to the DHT, but it just stores it in memory in the running process.
Oh, is that hash the same hash as when I load a Holochain app? And for example, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I won't show it again because we saw it earlier, but yeah, that's great. Okay, now I understand where that hash is used. So it's generated from your local files. So for your version of the app, you get a hash, and then that's the only essentially private network you can join. Yeah, so it's very, the word I have for this is truistic. It's very truistic, where if you have a matching piece of information, then you will find the right place, and if you don't, then you won't. It's not like someone else checks whether you're using the right app version. You either are or you aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I guess one of the ways that they sort of use as a trick to find out who is running on the same hash is using the Bootstrap servers, and by looking at the Bootstrap server, which I forget how that's done exactly, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of handy to see it. I'll have to ask Arthur about that again, because there's a server which is running which shows who's connected on the same hash to the same app.
Yeah, that's essentially a huge, like, or not a huge, it's like a privacy kind of
violation or leak. So that's not something that'll be permanent. Do you know what the plans are to supersede the Bootstrap server with something more decentralized?
I think that might have something to do with the switch to Promether instead of libp2p. Under the hood, because I think they do that because the underlying networking protocol has trouble finding the other nodes.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there were some problems with firewalls, so Prometheus is better for that.
I think so. Yeah. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's definitely taking a while, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really slow. But yeah, maybe we'll go back to just exploring the code.
Probably want to just continue doing something else. Yeah.
Sorry, can you continue what?
Yeah, just whatever it is I'm doing and exploring. Yeah.
Yeah, Stefan, do you want to have me walk through some more of the code in Clutter, or we could look at cointoss also? We were just looking at the structural file, but we haven't actually looked at the code yet.
Oh, sorry, I was muted there. Yeah, no, I'd love to look at the clutter if that makes sense.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it does. And you don't know JavaScript, right? You don't know any programming languages?
No,
okay.
Nothing.
So I'll go line by line.
Totally new.
No problem at all. I will do the whole thing. So, and I'm actually not a JavaScript expert either. I've learned other languages which are similar, and I just hack it when I'm working with JavaScript. So, so, like, I don't, for example, know what this line does or why it's in single quotes, but I can guess from what it says that it's saying that we're going to use a stricter version of the syntax for JavaScript. Every line in some programming languages require a semicolon. JavaScript, they are, I believe, optional. So in other languages, if you leave the semicolon off, it won't work, and it will think it's part of the next line, and it will crash or not compile. In JavaScript, I think you can leave them off. 2 slashes at the beginning of a line make a comment. So this code is never executed. It's just for commenting.
Okay.
This is weird. I don't know why this comment. There are 2 ways to do a comment. You can do a 1-line comment, or you can do a comment that just continues, and then it ends with this. So open, slash, asterisk, and then asterisk, slash. I think this is just a formatting error. I think this is actually part of the comment, but it's being highlighted incorrectly by Adam. So this should be gray also, and it's part of the comment. Okay, so in programming, it would suck to have to, if we didn't have functions, it would just be one endless scroll of text doing different things. And the only flow control we would have is go-tos. So we would have to say go to line 8, go to line 16, and it would just be a huge rat's nest. So having main functions allows us, let me know what level you want me to explain things at. Do you have a technical background or anything like that, background in science or mathematics? Or what do you do?
What do I do? Well, I have a background in policy and legislation development, so some of these concepts make sense to me in terms of how you would structure the code and reference different things in it. So, I don't have a science or math background, but I I did all that in school, and so I'm relatively comfortable with trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting resonance with thinking about structured documents.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, exactly. So that's why we'd want functions. Otherwise, we just have to make crazy specific references everywhere. So this function is called Genesis. This is a special function that is part of Holochain core. It's specified that every Holochain app has to implement this function, meaning that I have to make it like this and actually fill it up with specific content. And the Genesis function is called when you run the init on the command line. So when I did when I went to my directory cd git repos and then clutter, and then I said hcdev init clutter. I'm not going to hit it again, but when I did this, it ran this function, I think. I'm pretty sure about that. And this will run default Genesis, which generates the initial Holochain source chain entries, the local source chain entries, which include my identity, I think, and the app with its hash. And then this code, any additional code that I put here will run. This just returns true. You know, functions have return functions or return values. And of course, these curly brackets define the boundaries of the function. And this indicates a function, but it also can contain arguments that you send to the function, like right here. So let's see. These comments are helpful. These are validation functions for every DHT entry change. So again, this is the meat of the Holochain app. This is what keeps the distributed hash table pure for each app, and like keeps it from having invalid data injected or data which is not allowed or agreed upon by the app's participants.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, people could just hijack your app's, data, use it for whatever. And I don't know this notation because I don't know JavaScript very well, but I can tell what it does. It's setting these parameters here: entry name, entry header, package, and sources are being defined. They're like being predefined here with type checking, so that entry name will have to be a string, a text string. Entry will have to be, looks like anything, or maybe that's the name for a set or something. Header is a question mark. I don't know why these are being defined as parameters if they're just getting question marks and asterisks. But Connor, do you know this syntax and why it's hilarious?
That's like an old relic. That's like really old code that was done in a hurry, and that's why there's those question marks there. But it's since been fixed for quite a long time now. But that code still has sort of the relics. So
okay. Oh crap! Forgot it. My keyboard layout is messed up in Atom. Were you gonna say something else, Connor? Hi, Robert.
Well, just if I know sort of a little bit more about what those actually are, if you're curious.
Yeah, please.
I forget what's in the header exactly. Oh, that's weird. My doorbell's ringing. Sorry, just a sec.
Okay. Hi, Robert. We were just looking at clutter, and meanwhile, I'm installing node.js. How are you?
Pretty good. I was just had another call, so I couldn't join right at the beginning.
No problem. Yeah, scheduling these is really hard. And we had like 3 people pop in and then leave at the beginning. I think they were coming from the Facebook announcement. Yeah, so Stefan, how are you following all this code so far? Okay. Is it making sense?
Yep, it's making sense. I mean, I won't really know it until I try, doing it and looking at stuff, but it's helpful to hear this from you for sure. Yeah,
great. Yeah, Connor, do you want to explain these param things?
Yeah, sure. These functions like validate, commit, they get called when someone is trying to write data to their local source chain, you've got these 5 different things which are passed in function. Entry name is something simple such as a sample entry, or in the case of clutter, it's like post. So this is like the type of thing. that it is. The entry is the data itself, whatever's being, whatever it is that you're trying to actually put into the chain. The header is a number of like, well, one thing that the header contains, I think, is like a reference and a pointer to the last thing in the chain, because that's how the whole thing, the chain gets created, is through links between entries to the previous entries. So the header sort of like is used for that. The package is a thing which comes from, I guess it's there because in some circumstances, in order to validate the data, you may need extra information about whether the thing is valid, and so you can request that information from someone else, or from somewhere. And if you scroll down, Anders,
to where?
To
validate package. Yeah. These?
I'm not seeing it yet, but
the validate put package, validate mod package, validate delete package.
So those functions correspond to the validate ones, and what they do is they get called, and they return data, what they call the package, which can be used within the validate function to validate it.
Okay.
It's a weird sort of like exchange.
Interesting.
Between the two, but
and what's sources?
So that's what PKG is, and then the last thing, sources, and I think that's people. It's an array of hashes which reference people or agents, saying who exactly is involved in writing this, or in trying to write this data into the chain. Or the
array
DH.
of hashes which reference people or agents which are trying to write data. Okay. And so usually that'll be me, just me. Or no, it might be the people who put the
user. Is it like basically whoever has the account or whatever on Clutter is? That's okay.
Mm-hmm. That's sort of the typical thing that's going to be in there. I think it'll just be of length 1 with the user themselves. Who's just trying to do it, but it can get more sophisticated than that for different use cases, where you need like multi-person signing or something. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Can you tell me what the difference is between the asterisk and the question mark here in param?
The asterisk is intentional. It means that the entry can be of any type. So it's actually a meaningful piece of documentation, but the question mark is just something that shouldn't be there. The question mark means nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll explain this validate function now. And I think Stefan, you already see that how the gossip protocol passes Holochain entries around, and then those are validated by peers whenever they pick them up. They revalidate them.
Through the hash, right? Like it turns into a hash function. Is that, or was that the other program that we were looking at, the HoloWorld?
I think you're thinking of when the whole program is being validated. So you have to have the same matching code as other people who are talking to you. This is validating each entry within that app when it gets added to your source chain, and then it gets gossiped out. Anyone else who copies that entry to their own copy of the DHT, their own local
neighborhood will also validate that entry according to its schema and its commit and its validate function. So the schema that we looked at here, no, sample entry, here it is. This is the JSON that defines the structure of a valid CLUT, a valid meow. So they just have these two pieces of data. And then the commit function is also run on every time something is validated. And right now it just returns false. I thought they usually returned true. Do you know anything about that, Connor?
Yeah, that one, I don't know why you're looking at this old cluttered DNA sample zone thing, or
maybe it's in this. Maybe it's in this one.
This is like a really bad file.
Yeah. Let's look at a better one then. Yeah, this is like this old green folder, and I don't know what it is. This looks better. Is this correct? Is this the correct? Okay, great. Okay, let's start at the top here. We've got comments, and then we've got a function. This gets a property. Property is a Holochain core function.
So here you'll find more interesting validate functions.
Yeah, let's hop down to validate. Yeah, so this app has grown and has some complexity to it now. So here's the validate commit. So validate commit, there's the entry type, entry, header, package, and sources, the same that we looked at. Here's a debug output message, which they just added better debugging to Holochain. So this might be a Holochain core function. I don't know where it's outputted though. And then this will return, and then it returns the return value of this function called validate. So this list line is going to return something as the function validate commit. But before it does that, first it calls this function validate, which, is that a Holochain core function, or is that in this document? Oh, here it is, yeah. So it calls this function validate, which is
that's not a Holochain core
here.
function. It's
it's right here. Yeah, and then it sends these three pieces, 4 pieces of information to this function right here, so that it can validate a general clutter entry. So there's actually logic now. There's actually validation logic in this function, which is good and interesting. So let's step through this line by line. There's if the entry type is equal to post, which is not referring to HTTP post, but is referring to the type post, like a comment or a post. And you got to use the double equals here. Otherwise, what you do if you use a single equals, you would set entry type equal to post right here, and then that would always be true because you just did it. So you have to use the double equals to check the value rather than set the value. Single equals is set, double equals is check. And that's like programming 101 thing. Okay. It's hard to remember. And then var, this creates a variable named L, and it sets it equal to the entry, the message of the entry, and it's the length of the message of the entry. So these are nested properties. So this L is length. If length is greater than 0, and you got to use the double and length is less than 256, then return true, otherwise return false. Do you want to guess what this does, Stefan, or do you understand what it does?
Yeah, that's just the character limit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like on Twitter.
Yeah, okay.
It's a 256 character limit. And if entry type is handle, so someone's username, return true, because those are always valid and they're not checked for length. And if it's follow, then return true, because those are really simple entries and they're just a link from one post to another. So I don't think that any additional validation is needed, maybe. So I think it is okay for some times to say return true, but only if there's no possible way your data could be leaked based on the data types that you have chosen. And if it's not any of those, then none of these will trigger, and we'll end up down here, and it returns true also, which that maybe should actually be false. Do you think, Connor, that if it's not one of the 3 accepted types, it should return false, not true?
Yeah.
So this is basically a bug, and do you want to? Should we commit this, Connor, and change this?
Yeah, you can change it and make a pull request. Yeah.
Okay. I think I'll do that because I was having problems with Git last time I tried to do this, and maybe you can help. And Stefan can also see the process. Have you haven't used Git, have you, Stefan?
I haven't, but I actually have to go now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll do this.
But this has been really helpful, guys. Thank you.
Great.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. No problem. I'm going to do this every week, and I was thinking of maybe trying to set up more than one per week also.
Awesome. Well, I as a total newcomer, it's very helpful to just kind of see what's under the hood in this fashion. So you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Bye.
See you later.
See you, Stefan.
Okay, and I'm going to stop the recording.